Hello everyone and welcome back to Tutorials of Tone. My name is Alex. Thank you so much for watching this video. Today's topic, series versus parallel. What's the difference between running your pedals in series as opposed to running them in parallel? What are the benefits and what does this sound like to us? Well, in this video we're going to dive into that and answer that endless enigma that we see crop up in the Fractal forum, the Facebook page, and comments all over these YouTube videos. Let's dive right in. So the layout of our presets will look like this. For our series layout, we have our input block, an amp, a cab, then our modulation pedals, chorus and flanger, running into our delay and our reverb straight out to the output. For our parallel layout, we have our input, amp, and cab. Then we'll see the signal split off into chorus and flanger, rejoin, then have reverb and delay split off from that direct signal that is also being processed through to our output blocks. It seems very complicated at first, but we'll get there. So first off, what does it mean to run your pedals in series? Well, think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. Every previous block or effect is going to run into the next, and there's going to be no split in signal. It's just going to consistently snowball your tone. So every preceding effect or sound is going to influence the next. So if we look at our series grid, our amp will run into the cab, which will shape the tone. Then we will chorus that sound. We will flange the chorused clean sound. Then we will have delays of our flanged chorused clean sound. Then we will have reverberation with our delayed flanged chorused clean sound. Now that sounds like a lot. So let's just hear what it sounds like if we go one at a time with just a clean tone. So we start, we add our chorus in, then we add our flanger, which is now flanging our chorused sound. Then we're going to add delays of that signal. Then we're going to reverberate that. Now, for the purposes of this video, I have accentuated all of these effects. You likely wouldn't use so much reverb or delay on these sounds. You can hear that not only does that first hit have that big reverb sound, but every subsequent delay feeds into that reverb and compounds the reverb. Think of it again like a snowball rolling down a hill. As you add signal to it, it consistently morphs and grows into this big juggernaut of sound. That's running your pedals in series. Now, what does it mean to run your pedals in parallel? Well, if we look at our layout, for this preset, we have our input block, amp, and cab. Then, again, we split our dry signal with our chorus and our flanger. Then we rejoin, send that signal independently through to the output, to the reverb, and to the delay. So we have a split of 3 signals. Then we rejoin, and that signal is then split 3 times, independently processed and sent to the output block. So when we begin this with our clean tone, we will hear the same thing that we did in our series audio example. When we add our chorus back in, we will hear a clean, unprocessed signal and our chorus effect. Now you may be thinking, that sounds just like the other one. Well, it does. We're at the very beginning, and our mix knob is giving us how much effect we're hearing in conjunction with our clean tone. At this stage of the game, they can be sonically identical. But when we have a flanger added to the mix, instead of the chorus sound being flanged, we have our clean unprocessed signal being flanged independently on that channel, blending with our dry signal and our chorus signal. One of the benefits of this, especially if you're running in stereo, you could pan each effect. You could have your chorus in the left, your dry in the center, and your flange in the right. I have used this for a song that I produced called Cotton Candy Clouds. I had 3 different effects panned in different parts of the stereo field, and then the dry signal in mono, and then also opening up into a wide stereo or double mono type sound. It really added a lot of depth and contour to the swirling effect, which is what is possible here. It also keeps each signal processed independently, and you get a much cleaner result. When those 3 signals rejoin, as we heard, you can hear that it is not quite as processed and muddy from all of the previous cascading processing. So here it is in parallel. And here it is in series. Quite the difference, and time-stamped for A-Bing purposes. Now that we understand the difference between our modulations running in series versus parallel, we can now talk about our spatial effects and the differences of those between series and parallel processing. For A-Bing these examples, I've muted the modulation effects so you can get the full scope of how your spatial effects are processed with a clean tone. So when we run in series and we just have our clean sound with a delay, again, the delay is turned up for dramatic effect. You just hear the delayed signal. When we turn on our reverb, not only does our clean sound go into the reverb, but the delays are all reverberated as well, and you can hear that in this large hall for dramatic effect. And you can hear that bloom. When we move to parallel processing, we hear the delay and the clean processed separately. And then we hear the clean and the delay processed separately, while the clean with reverb is also processed separately. So the delay trails are not going to have reverb, but one of the clean sends will. So running things in parallel allows us to process each of the individual effects independently and mix them to our liking with greater precision. So we've heard this with clean tones, but now let's go in with a little bit of distortion. We're going to go into our lead tone and hear the difference and how, with the snowball effect, running things in series can really compound the sound, making it much bigger, and the difference between that and running things in parallel, where everything is processed separately. So here's our lead tone with everything running in series with over dramatized spatial effects of our delay and our reverb. And here's what everything sounds like in parallel. So as you can hear, with the parallel example, a lot cleaner. We have way more control over how much of the unprocessed signal is getting through to the end and how much of the processed signal we allow in to color the sound in different ways. Now you can absolutely use combinations of series and parallel within your grid on any preset. So as you can see here with my Billie Jean preset, I'm running the delay in series and running that separately into reverb, as well as just a clean delayed signal, which I'm using as a doubler in here. This is a great way to have a hybrid model where we still get the most out of our clean delayed signal like you would in the studio, but also blend in a little bit of that reverb to taste. So for the final playing part of this video, we're going to do direct comparisons of series versus parallel audio examples so you can hear all of these things in a direct A/B comparison with approximate levels, etc. I hope this is very illuminating for you. It has been for me, and I hope that this helps inform all of your future presets. It should be noted that in my modulation effects, I did have both the chorus and the flanger mixed at 50%. So the chorus would start with 50% chorus, 50% clean, but then the flange would have 50% of the chorus and clean, and 50% of the flanged version of that. So the chorus signal would compound as it came through. You can, of course, adjust those mix parameters to accommodate for this, as many of you have who have been running in series for a time. But it is worth noting and putting that out there to accentuate the differences between series and parallel. Some considerations when you set things in series or when you set them in parallel. First up, when we're in series, make sure that your mix level is the amount of affected signal you want going through this pedal, and that the rest is going to be clean. So if we're at 30% mix, we have 30% chorus signal, and we have 70% of our unprocessed signal by that effect. When we get to our flanger block, you would have 30% mix, which would have 70% of our clean chorus composite and 30% of that signal with a flanger. That thought process follows with delay and reverb as well. The level function when running in series is not the level of the effect, but it is the level that you are sending out to the next block. So if you're bringing these effects in and out and you're hearing a volume difference, change the level of that block to accommodate, whether that is up or down. Make sure also that your bypass mode when set in series is set to through, because if this is set to mute effects out or mute out, when you mute the pedal, you will mute the signal to the end of the chain. When we're running things in parallel, we have very different considerations for the same sort of parameters. For our mix control, we want that at 100%. So this line is entirely chorused signal. We don't want any of the dry, so that we can adjust the amount of our chorus with our level. Know that by adding all of these subsequent versions of the signal together, you are going to add volume. You may have to change your amp or cab block from where you'd have it in series, and you may, if that doesn't work, have to go to your output block and either change the scene level under scene levels, or do as I did for the ending examples and drop this 3 dB, just to make everything even volumes. Also, when you run things in parallel, do not set them to through for your bypass mode. Set them to mute effects out or mute out. If you set it to through and mute the signal, you now have twice the signal, and you are going to have a significant volume spike. This is a very important consideration when running in parallel. Well, that wraps up our semi-brief tutorial on series versus parallel processing for our modulation and spatial effects. I hope this was as illuminating for you as it was for me, and I hope that this can serve as a quick reference guide for those in question, with all of the audio examples timestamped on the timeline. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this, there are plenty more videos throughout the channel, tutorials of tone, Fractal 101, gear reviews, playthroughs, etc. And I hope that you can take this knowledge with you and improve your presets and build something even crazier than you thought possible. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.